I'm pretty sure I just saw the best film of the year. No, seriously, I don't think you understand what I'm saying. I'm pretty sure I really saw the best film of 2024. Now, in all seriousness, I do realize I'm being a little bit hyperbolic here. It might not be the best film of the year, but it's easily one of the best films of the year for me. Probably right there along with Boy Kills World, which I know is a controversial opinion to pretty much everyone, but I don't care because I stand by my opinions. But first and foremost, let me let you know that you need to visit criticlist.com. Yes, you heard me right, criticlist.com. We are an app and you can find us on the web as well, but go to your Android or Apple stores, create an account, make some friends, and drop a review. I will be dropping my review for Heretic right after dropping this, and let me go ahead and tell you that it's going to be right up in this range. I'm just going to go ahead and give you spoiler territory right there out of the gate, but go ahead and visit criticlist.com and then throw us that subscribe down below, give us the comments and everything else surrounding that, the likes, because we love it and it helps our channel out a ton. So on to Heretic and this movie. First off, if you don't know what Heretic is, honestly, I think that that is the best thing humanly possible. Let me state up front and be abundantly clear. Do not watch the trailer for this film if you have not seen it yet. If you have already seen the trailer, I'm sorry. I think that one of the best shots in the film is actually in the trailer itself, and honestly, just trailers are so spoilery these days, they ruin everything, especially when it's horror thriller things. And Heretic is a thriller horror film. This is directed by Scott Beck and Brian Woods and written by the same guys. Now, I was not familiar with anything that these two had done before and hadn't done much research before watching the movie, and decided to look a little bit up before I started talking and realized that I haven't really seen anything that they've directed. They directed this Boogeyman movie, the 65 movie, which didn't do super well, and then a couple of these others more indie films and some, anthology type stuff. But this, I think, is going to be the big break. This is what they need. And actually, I see here it says he's from Denver, Colorado, which I think is actually the setting of this movie as well. But Scott and Brian definitely knocked it out of the park this time. But I am going to say once again, don't spoil yourself with this. I am going to read the overview, which it states right here on Criticlist, which is that two young missionaries are forced to prove their faith when they knock on the wrong door and are greeted by a diabolical Mr. Reed, becoming ensnared in his deadly game of cat and mouse. And in all seriousness, that's all you need to know. You don't need to know a whole lot else, and I am going to be fairly brief with this review because, like I said, less is more. I mean, I really just don't. I know I'm overstating that, but I don't want to spoil this movie, and I think that you should be careful when it comes to reading reviews or anything about it, because I think that that's where horror thriller films like this thrive. But this movie is absolutely fascinating, and it really just kind of blew me away. I do have high hopes that this will have legs and good word of mouth. It is extraordinarily suspenseful, and by the name itself and kind of what you've read in there, with it being about two young missionaries, is that this does delve into religion and faith. This movie definitely digs into that, and it does something interesting that I'm not quite sure that I've seen before, which is that it challenges these ideas. It poses different concepts surrounding religion and spirituality, more so religion than anything, but it doesn't tell you what to think or what to believe. And this is, in parts, especially even for a large portion of it, what I would consider kind of a thinking film. It's going to be for a certain type of person, possibly, but I think that the people that like this movie are really, really, really going to like it a lot, because if you're one of those that likes to sit down and have philosophical conversations to discuss, religion and the meaning of life, humanity as a whole, this movie is going to be for you, especially if you like horror thriller stuff, because it combines these elements perfectly. And which brings me to, Hugh Grant, Sophie Thatcher, yes, Thatcher, and then also Chloe East. These are basically the only three people in the entire movie. Yes, there's a few other folks down here. You do see Topher Grace, that's right. It was great to see him. But yeah, these three characters right here are your main actors, and they sell this thing. I mean, the acting here, the showcase that we are given is phenomenal, and it centers on these three, and you get close-ups of facial expressions and just little micro expressions between all of these folks as they're conversing and as the film is chugging along, and it is just fascinating. I was on the edge of my seat from start to finish. I do want to touch for a very split second on just the cinematography, the sound design, just this overall structure of this film. I mean, the acting and everything's in there as well, but I'm talking about, you know, the sound, the look, the feel, the vibe, the shots. Everything in this movie feels very intentional, and this movie, to many folks who are looking for these types of things, who aren't just your everyday moviegoer, there's a lot that's going to jump out for them. And this is, in a sense, a little bit of an artsy film, but at the same time, it takes all of those components that make some artsy films good and takes it to where, like, the regular viewer is not going to notice that it's artsy, but yet they are, you know, capitalizing on just this flawless sound design and with the music and certain things that happen, and then also just these very up close and personal shots and very interesting angles and viewpoints that just really draw attention to certain things that are happening on screen at the time. And I really want to praise the film for that, because a lot of that blew me away to where it could be artsy, but also well done with tact to where it doesn't come across as just, oh, this is just art house trash. If you want to know about tone for this, honestly, the thing that came to mind the most is Silence of the Lambs. It's really that level of kind of this intelligent suspense, which I think was really well done, and this is just well written, but it's not over your head. It's not going to get so deep into the philosophical weeds that you're going to be disinterested with the film. But I do think if you're one of those folks who's like, oh, this is about religion, even if it is that these two young missionaries are Mormon, like, that's not my religion, but still, you know, if you're one of those people who's like, I might have an issue with that, I think that honestly all of the religion aspects are handled quite well, and you're going to be okay. I am born and raised in the South. I haven't been, you know, it's mostly, this is the Bible Belt, you know, traditional Christianity goes. That's what you're going to see the most, which isn't really what's focused on here, but it is Christianity in large, but then it expands outside of that. It really delves into, you know, just religion and thoughts on that. And I think that it was just really fascinating. So maybe some of my interest in this is a little bit biased to some degree, just because of my raising and growing up a lot around the church and in multiple churches and involved with them. And so there might be a little bit of that with my, you know, review and my score of this, but I do still think that there is plenty to love for people who are in or out of the church. But honestly, I teased my score, but right now, I'm being completely serious. I think that Heretic is a 100% movie. This is a most excellent film for me, and I have given next to none of those this year. The only other one that I can think of offhand is the movie Boy Kills World. My score is 100%, and you'll see, I mean, that's a little bit off from the audience, which is still quite high at by 42 people at a 78%. So still very good movie. Rads can be hard to hit, especially high rads. But so this movie, though, seriously, something could change over the next couple days. I'm going to be ruminating on this for a while. This is one of those movies that you're going to want to get into discussions with. I just want to talk to someone about this now. I was tempted to message OMB Reviews right away, because he's kind of our religious guy and our spiritual guy in Criticless, and I really just want to hear his thoughts on this movie and what his take is. And I'm so interested to hear what everyone else has to say, and I want to have more discussions about this. And I will probably be watching this movie again soon. The script for this movie is fantastic. The way that this movie is written, it gives you the internal feelings and the vibes of almost something like a Saw movie would, with the thriller aspects, but the gross out gore and the shock factor, all of that is removed, but yet you can still get the same emotions here, which I think is absolutely fascinating, because I have issues with those types of movies and I don't like them very much. I don't like the torture porn stuff, and it's none of the torture stuff really, but it's just that tone and that vibe is what you're getting here, which is kind of why I connected it a little bit as well to Silence of the Lambs. But this movie is just, it's flawless and perfect for me for the type of horror movie that I want and expect, and I think a lot of people are going to be pleased with it. For those people that ride that edge of like what kind of horror they're into and like. Now, your hardcore horror folks might not like this as much, because it's not this epic gore fest. It's a tactful horror film. So it just really depends on what you're interested in. But I do highly recommend seeing Heretic. See it in theaters if you can. I think people should show up for this movie. These guys need more work. I want to see more like this as far as the stuff that they're putting out. And this is just another win for A24 at this point. I think the movie is excellent and could not recommend it anymore. Definitely go see Heretic, and make sure to hop on Criticless and go review it. it. We need 10 to have an official score, and we actually already have 3 audience reviews right now. I have not looked at them. I stayed away a little bit because I didn't want anything spoiled, but I'm kind of tempted to scroll down. So we have a 78, a 71, and a 90. That's pretty good. And so I will be talking with all of these people in Criticless as well. And honestly, I think all of these reviews are, the scores are a little bit low, but actually Steady Hands, who gave us a 90, I can respect it. So definitely recommend checking out Heretic, and I want to see more reviews. I want to get an official score in here soon, and I will be back on Monday for the news, but make sure, as always, like I said, to visit criticless.com. Yep, you heard me right, criticless.com. Visit that, and then give us a sub for this channel if you want to see more reviews and stay on top of the news. And thank God this week I did not forget, or today, to present the screen to you guys so that you actually know what's going on. I did forget like 2 seconds ago when I was scrolling down to these 3 reviews, but you know, you win some, you lose some. Anyways, it's been great. It's been real. Everybody take it easy, and I will be back again with the news next week.